more Dwarf Fortressing, hey! Where we last left off here, we've still got the traders hanging about with all their stuff in my trade depot, cluttering it all up, making a constant flickering mess going on in there. We're going to cover a few different things here in this video, namely buildings, well, not buildings, the things that aren't buildings, rooms. You kind of need doors to make rooms, however, so let me go ahead and skip forward a bit, or, you know, I would until this happened. So we're going to be covering moods too, hey, or moods in general. You'll have these pop up every once in a while, and they're entirely random. Any of your dwarves can get a mood so long as they have a crafting skill of some sort. Regarding, or depending on what their skill is, that's kind of, it's not specific. Like if you have a dwarf that has a multitude of skills, there's a chance that they can occupy any given workshop that employs those skills. Meaning, if you've got a dwarf that has, you know, 2 or 3 different types of skills, such as bone crafting, armor smithing, and carpentry, you could pick any of 3 different buildings. This guy, however, has 2 major ones: weaponsmithing and armor smithing, which means he's going to want to craft something out of some kind of metal, probably a weapon or a piece of armor. We currently don't have the forge up because forging is something you kind of get into a little bit later once you've established the fortress, but this guy needs it, so we're going to build one. Moods basically make your dwarves randomly take one of their skills and apply it to a specific job, and they usually make an artifact with it. The artifacts can vary in value and complexity by depending on what all materials they pick up. The materials are all dependent on what's closest to them and what they desire. And when they claim the workshop, you'll see the list of various things that they want to put to use on said artifact. The moods, all of them except for the possessed mood, will instill a skill up on your dwarf once they finish, and they will automatically gain legendary status with that skill. You'll notice we're making rooms, trying to make rooms once he puts that door in place. Rooms, as far as bedrooms go, bedrooms aren't necessarily direly important. However, it's nice to be able to set physical spaces for your dwarves. What this does is it allows dwarves to claim ownership of a room, and it lets them store their personal belongings in there. Meaning anything that they acquire later on, and you'll get to stuff like the dwarf economy, as it is called in this game. You'll notice dwarves will start picking up more possessions, and they'll want a place to store them. So ownership of a room lets them be able to store objects in, as far as clothing or armor or anything that they might have to purchase, they will put into their room. And having their own personal space does make them a bit happier than the random dwarf just laying on the bed. So I generally will assign all the bedrooms I can make right off as early as I can once I have them established. You'll notice our buddy with the white exclamation point there, who's just claimed the metalsmith forge, which means he's going to want to create something. And he needs rock bars and tanned hides. Rock bars can mean anything, either rock or metal bars, apparently, because I do craft some rock bars, and he doesn't bother to budge. But I do smelt a couple other bars, and he finally takes care of that. It's always good to just have a couple blocks on hand, just in case something like this creeps up. You will also kind of run into the problem of your guys, the moods requiring objects that you might not have, and so things like shells, turtle shells, or crustacean shells, you might want to forbid if you find them in your fortress somewhere. That way, whenever a mood strikes, you can unforbid them so that your dwarves can use them for these crafts. Otherwise, they're not really all that useful as far as crafting materials go, so you might as well save them for that. Now you'll notice we've got another room down right off the main chamber here, which is a small room with a table and chair. Well, by hitting the Q button and going to the chair, we can size this room. And chairs will let you create offices. And offices are important for our nobles or people of specific rank that need office spaces. You'll see the broker here gets an office, which is all he really needs to do his job. Here's the noble list, which shows us we don't really have a lot of nobles, thankfully, because nobles are usually a big pain in the ass. Brokers and bookkeepers, I usually tie the two together. I'll have one guy do both jobs because it's pretty much just a number crunching, pencil pushing job, and you can kind of build up both skills at the same time pretty easily. You'll notice the bookkeeper actually has a settings option here, and by turning the settings on, you can set whether or not how precise your count is going to be. The higher the precision on your count, the more time it'll take your bookkeeper to crunch those numbers and give you an accurate count on your status list. Now, it does take a little while for him to get to work on it, but you'll see later on it doesn't take too long before we actually start to have numbers. Now, going through, we'll set all the doors that my guys have crafted and create more bedrooms for our dwarves. Hopefully by next video I'll have some of this cleaned out and all bedrooms will be set. I also probably need to get some more, you definitely want to keep an eye on the materials that you're using. Beds take wood, so you're going to need to keep an eye on your lumber situation and get more. Now, tables. You'll notice that this bigger room down here on the south that kind of looks like a, Akbar head, I guess. I'm going to turn this into a meeting hall of some sort once the tables are in place. Now, by going to hit Q and mousing, or well, not mousing, but cursoring over them, you can size this room. And you'll notice that the doors will actually stop the sizing so that they don't creep out into hallways and such, which is always a good thing. Now, you'll turn on the meeting hall, and what this essentially does is it turns this space into a gathering for all your dwarves. It means they can throw parties there, they'll eat food, they generally will mingle about when they're on break, and that's how they will level up skills such as the conversational skills, lying, comment, jokester. There's a bunch of comedic, or a bunch of social skills in the game that are built specifically by letting dwarves hang around each other for a long time. You notice I just kind of removed the old zone. You can create meeting hall zones with the I menu button, the zones menu, and that's kind of just to let you draw a temporary space just in case you don't set up a meeting hall like that. It'll also let you set up multiple rooms just in case you, well, let's say you make a statue room or a balcony somewhere that you want to also set up as a meeting hall. Giving them multiple options, not a bad idea, especially if you have grandiose plans for, building different things. You'll notice already that our guys started counting, and our totals are more accurate, which is always good because it's important to know how much food and water and all the materials you've got, and value-wise you've got, because a lot of fortress stuff does kind of depend on your value. The higher your value, the more migrants you'll get, the more things the caravans will bring to you, and eventually the more likely you are to get hostiles to attack, which can be fun depending on what kind of game you like to play with this. It's nice to have a little army built up just to fight off the incursions that show up every once in a while. You'll notice, let's see, we're making more crafts. You can if you have a craft you just want to rapidly produce with no end, you can always hit the R, which repeats the job, and you'll see that R right up there on the top right. I turned it off for this particular craft because I've done making crafts. Our guy still hasn't gotten the thing, so that's why I kind of was concerned about that, and we go over and kind of turn on some of the other jobs, because I noticed that rock and a metal rock bar, or metal bars are two different things, so the game still kind of lumps them together as far as that move goes. So if you have problems with somebody asking for rock bars, they actually might want metal bars. And we also put up some charcoal just in case we need some fuel of some sort, because you never know when you're actually going to need fuel. As of the newest version, coal and coke are usually more plentiful in the map, but just in case you need it, it's always good to have a few pieces of charcoal around. The caravan's finally left. It usually takes them a while to get going. So eventually our dude will get the job done. What else do we need to cover? Nothing per se here. Like I said, you kind of go back through and check. Like, I'm looking to see if anybody's actually cleaning the rooms yet, but it might take a while for that to happen. As far as doors go, you can kind of cursor over various things when you have the G menu or the Q menu up, and you'll see the doors actually have an option to, it'll let you lock rooms out so dwarves can't go in. It'll keep pets out just in case the random animals, you don't want them wandering in. And cats especially have a tendency to dispose of any vermin they catch at the master's feet, which means they might just follow people around and drop animals all over the place. So if you want to kind of prevent them from getting into certain rooms, such as a mess hall or somewhere important, the workshops, you can lock them off for, hey, start this construction. You can lock them off so that pets can't drag that kind of stuff in. And let's see what he crafts. Aha! He's crafted an iron mace called yeah, okay. It's always kind of entertaining to look in on these things, and you'll notice that his name is now blinking, which means he's got a legendary skill of some sort. You'll also notice that there's a miner up there with a linking skill, which probably indicates he's a legendary miner of some sort. But anyway, what we're going to look at is the T object, which will let us, the T menu, which will let us check out objects inside of workshops or buildings. You'll notice here's the mace that we just crafted, and it's worth 33,000 dwarf bucks. The value of objects like that can greatly increase your value in a short amount of time, depending on what kind of materials they use. It's always important to kind of keep your value up, because that kind of encourages other things to happen to your fortress. And it's bound to happen anyway as you play the game. You guys are going to constantly craft better and better stuff. You'll notice that our value jumped up significantly since that last view. In fact, that one weapon is now worth probably 2/3 of our fortress value. I think that's about it for this video. So next time around we'll probably cover some of the things I missed. We'll probably start a military, clean things up a little bit. But until then, this has been Empyrean. Have a good one, guys.